Today we're going to make some pickles. So one of the things that we have to do from time to time is we have to preserve the harvest. Often even the small gardens, they hit their stride and they start producing far more than you can keep up with just by eating it. So here's a good example here. So these we picked this afternoon. These we picked some late yesterday afternoon and some this morning. So this is over the last 2 days, and you guys, you know, I already sent you a whole bunch of lemon cucumbers, but you know, this is what happens. So there's no way to eat them all. So we have to find ways, hopefully, to preserve them. So one of my favorite ways to do it is with a basic refrigerator pickle, and this is a Giardiniera. Now, a Giardiniera, we call it a Giardiniera according to the ingredients that it has in it. It's still a basic pickle. It's still very much like the cucumber pickles that I did the other day. So, but this Giardiniera, it has usually everything except cucumbers. So in here I have green peppers. This is some of the fennel that I didn't use from the other day. This is celery that I haven't used. Here's my carrots that I was doing some small dice with. So you see, there's just all these little odds and ends. I go through my refrigerator and I say, okay, well, I don't want to lose these things. They're still good. So I'm going to pickle them. So I have that, and to that, I am indeed going to add some cucumbers. These are curvy cucumbers. Like our lemon cucumbers, they're coming in so fast that it's sometimes hard to keep up with them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix them. I'm going to have these and have these. So, you know, what are pickles? Pickles are preserved vegetables. It doesn't have to be any specific kind. It doesn't have to be any specific shape necessarily. So I'm making these, and I'm hoping that they're going to come out and they're going to look nice, and they're going to be delicious. They're going to be like a little side that I would add to a salad or put on the side of my burger. When we have burgers or hot dogs, we always have some of our homemade pickles. If you don't eat them, then you just end up with a bunch of jars of pickles in your pantry, and that's not the point. So this is, you know, some of this is kind of old, and I don't really want the old stuff. If it doesn't look good, I don't want it in there. But it's a good way to use up little bits and pieces that you have left in your refrigerator, or if your garden is running away from you. Okay, since we are making pickles and talking about preservation, we kind of have to talk about the jars and the lids and those kinds of things. So I get my stuff either from Costco. It goes on sale in the summer, midsummer is when you see that stuff coming into Costco. And right now it's at the grocery store. Ace Hardware is another favorite place. They usually will run specials on these things. But get them early in the season. Go out and get them now if you want to do that, because the later you wait in the season, the harder they are to get. They sell out, and they're not going to reorder until next year. So these are mason jars or ball jars. They also have this brand name here, Kerr, Kerr. So, and these are wide mouth, what they call mason jars. So these are the wide mouths. These are the narrow mouth. So what's the difference? Well, obviously the width of the mouth. When I'm making pickles, I like the wide mouth. So I'm going to get one of the narrow mouths and show you what I'm doing with these. So the wide mouths I like for pickles because I can get in there and get them out. Both of these are narrow mouths, and I canned both of these with a pressure canner. This is chicken stock, this one right here, and this one is beef stock. So the narrow mouth and the wide mouth. And this, the recipes sometimes will call for what's called a two-piece cap. And this is what they're talking about, is this two-piece cap. It's this one piece right here that has the seal on it. And then it has this ring that keeps it locked down when it's under pressure. So this is opposed to a one-piece cap, which I have right here. So this is just a plastic cap that screws on the top. And that's if you're not canning, if you're not preserving. Let's say you have some leftover tomato sauce that you made and you're not going to can it, but you need something to put it in. So you'll put it in one of these and you'll grab one of these lids and put it in the refrigerator. But for canning and pickling, we use these two-piece lids. So we're doing wide mouths today, so I'm going to move these out of the way. And even if it's a pint jar, this is a pint jar, this is a quart jar, but you will note that the wide mouths, they're exactly the same, even though the volume measure of the jar is different. So the wide mouth lids work with all the wide mouth jars. So one of the things we have going on is I have water over there heating up so that we can do the water bath after it's been sealed. But I've got all my vegetables prepped. I'm heating up my liquid that is going to go, my pickling liquid. And also what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my lids and I put them in here, really just for convenience sake. All you need to do is you're going to pour hot water on these. And what that hot water does is it kind of softens that seal, so that when we fill these and we put these on and lock them down with the second piece, that it gets a really very good seal. So it should be hot water, not boiling water. So I keep a little bit of water separate in a little electric pot like I use to heat up water for coffee, and that's what I use for this. So I have my jars, they're clean, they're ready. I have my brine over on the stove, all my vegetables are over there, and so now I'm ready to do my filling process. All right, so we've gathered our mise en place. We've filled these. I have my fancy little funnel that helps me not make a huge mess. So it turns out I have 2 full quarts and a pint. And, you know, I always tend to over prep because I guess how much it's going to be. And I was pretty close this time. I was figuring three quarts or maybe a little less, so right on the money. So my lids, they're soaking in hot water. And I have, this is also one of my fancy little gadgets, that this is my pickling liquid, and we're just waiting for it to, it's there, or we're just waiting for it to get to fully hot. And then I'm going to again use my fancy funnel so I don't make a mess. Still going to make a mess. See? It pours down the side of that pot, so you really need a funnel. Alright, let's try this one. Ouch. Be careful. And then this one. Looks like I'm going to have enough. I was a little worried I wouldn't quite have enough of the pickle liquid, but I do. So ideally I want to leave about a 1/2 inch headspace, and a 1/2 inch on these is going to be right up to this ridge right here, and you leave that headspace there to allow for a little bit of expansion and to allow, that's where the vacuum is created. So that's what this is for, to get out any air bubbles, make sure everything is settled. And see, there's some in there. Give everybody a bay leaf. Alright. So it looks pretty nice. It's got a nice color. Good color contrast. So let's move this out of the way so you can see that a little bit better. Alright. Pushed them down. I'm going to maybe just another tablespoon or 2 on top, since I have it, but not much. Yeah, that one's fine. This one. Alright. Alright. So now they're full. They have the hot liquid in them. So now it's time to cap them off. I just give them a quick wipe here just to make sure there's nothing there. Again, so we'll get a good seal. All right. And remember, these are in hot water, so I lost feeling in my fingers years ago, but trust me, these are hot. All right. So I'm just going to move this here. I don't want to put it here because that burner is still hot. That one there. That on straight? Yep. All right. All right. And then, so I'm going to turn this back up to high even though it's boiling, because when I put these in, that temperature is going to drop. So I give it one last. And then that's what I have these for. So these are going to go in my hot water bath here, just like this. Okay, all right. And then this one goes right in there. Oh, look at that. So right up to the top. That's what we want. So I'm going to do this, turn this down just a little bit, and I'm going to say, hey Google, set a timer for 20 minutes. And then I'm going to let these go. It'll boil for 20 minutes. And then after 20 minutes, we'll come back, we'll pull them out, and I'll show you what they look like. All right. So our time is up, our 20 minutes. And what I did was, when the 20 minutes was up, I just turned off the heat. And I let it come down, let the boil subside and come down a little bit. You really don't want to take it out of the water right away. It creates some kind of a bottle shock. So using my little tongs, lift it up. That looks pretty good. All right. So we let these sit at room temperature. I'll let them sit until tomorrow. And then tomorrow, when they're completely 100% cooled, I'll check the lid, make sure the lid is has been pushed down. It pulls itself down, telling you that it's got a good seal. If the lid is up, if you can push on it and it goes pop, that's not good. But it will, because we left headspace in there, it'll pull that vacuum and it'll be just fine. So tomorrow I'll take the rings off. If you don't take the rings off, sometimes you've gotten a little bit of sugar or spilled a little bit of something in the threads there. And when it cools and you don't get it off, and the longer it stays on there, that sugar makes those rings really hard to get off. So I pull those rings off right away, and the rings are reusable. So this is my Giardiniera. That big batch of Giardiniera made us 2 quarts and a pint, and that should last us a while, and probably enough to share with one of the neighbors.